All right, everybody. Well, hey, hope you are doing well this Monday afternoon, Monday evening, or Monday morning if you're on the other side of the world like I know some people are. Welcome to the Monday Note. Hope you all are rocking and rolling on. And first of all, I want to give a quick applause out there to all the mothers that are on the call. Hopefully, you guys all had a wonderful, happy Mother's Day, everybody. Let's give them a big round of applause. Obviously, you guys are rocking and rolling along. We'll get started here just a couple minutes late, give everybody a chance to get logged on and take care of everything. We just sent a quick, hopefully you guys took a second to fill out the survey that came along with the webinar because we'll be answering some things according to that. But we're really excited. You're going to see a tweak in the Monday notes going forward. A couple things. There's always going to be a really great relevant content like we've had in the past. They're going to be recorded. They will be starting to be uploaded to YouTube now versus Vimeo, so maybe a little bit easier for you all to find. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of things. We haven't done one of these in a few weeks because of, the Noteworthy Convention, which was a huge success. I think everybody had a really great time there, got a lot of good information. And our guest speaker today is he was the highest rated speaker at Noteworthy. And he's such not only such a tremendous individual, but a good buddy. And I'll bring him on in a second here before I go through a few things, get things rock and rolling here. But you definitely want to grab a pen and paper, take some notes on, because Aaron's going to blow your mind with some of the great things that are going on. So we always get a question of like, who's on the call? Well, we've got a combination of real estate investors, note investors, and then we also have people that are looking to get in the game of some sort as future investors of some sort. And what's so great is tonight's topic is going to affect everybody on the call. Everybody in the call or who's registered is going to find something valuable on the call. I can guarantee you that tonight. I'll give you a big Texas guarantee from Scott Carson here, the note guy, that you will all get something on the call. Trust me, you'll write something down and be like, aha, or some of you may be like, oh shit. I need to know that. I did not know that. Because every time I see Aaron present, I feel the same way, like, oh, there's another nugget. Oh, hey, there's something else. But anyway, let's get into it. As always, these calls are recorded before the evening is over. This call will be uploaded to my Vimeo channel in case you don't watch it, review it, and go from there. Also, I highly suggest you all, if you have not done this already, but connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Google+, Vimeo, Pinterest. YouTube is also up and running, but you look for us on Instagram as well for everybody there. Okay? I always like to start things off, give everybody an update on where our goals are at for the year. And as an organization and an individual, I always like to set very lofty goals. And I work with a lot of people across the country. So my goals when I started in January, and I'm always curious how many of you guys are actually still working towards your goals for the year or have scrapped them. My goal is to sit down and help about 1,000 new investors learn note investing. And we've already halfway to our goal of the 1,000. We're actually, I think, 60% of the way there. As far as the note deals, we're a little behind where we need to be, but we're in the six-figure. I'm not in the six figures. We're in the three-digit number range. Where are we at? I'm going to check numbers on that, but we're well on our way, especially some of the things that we're working on. I'm really, really excited some of the changes that are being made. We're doing an organization. In case you guys didn't know that, I will no longer be offering mentoring up as part of my mentoring program after the Baltimore workshop in June. I want to focus on the existing mastermind students and the new mastermind students to close deals and focus on actually taking my 1,000 goal for the year buying assets, actually taking that to 2,000 to 3,000 for the year. So I've retweaked my numbers to take it to a much greater level as well. So hopefully you guys are doing the same thing as well. All right. For those that are curious, we do have an upcoming workshop this week in Miami, Florida. Actually, it's going to be Sunny Isles Beach, Florida. It's going to be at the DoubleTree by Hilton Ocean Resort and Spa in Sunny Isles Beach. Wonderful hotel right in the water. I may have to block the curtains out for the gorgeous views because I think we're going to be looking over the beach for a nice share of it. So Definitely have a nice happy hour Thursday evening where everybody will be able to get a chance to network. We've got a couple great speakers coming. I'm excited. Ron Klein, who Aaron's a buddy of, Ron Klein will be actually flying in and speaking. Ron's the creator of the credit card strip, if you remember that. You know, a lot of you probably have spouses that like to use this on a daily basis. Hi, everybody. But the little credit card strip, he's the creator of that. Plus, he also helped automate the New York Stock Exchange and was creator of the multiple listing service, something that we use a lot of as real estate investors or realtors. And Ron's going to be speaking Friday, right before lunch, and definitely excited to have him out. He's an amazing individual, amazing investor, amazing real inventor of sort as well for everybody. So excited about that. All right. If you're interested, yes, it is Miami Beach, May 14th to 17th. It's 40 days of content. You can register at weclosenotes.com, and it's $9.99. And that's good for two people, not $9.99, but $999. It's for you and a spouse or business partner to come. All right. Also, if you're looking to connect with new note investors, I highly recommend that you go to LinkedIn and connect with a note closers group. Just do search note closers group. You'll find it's a growing group on there. You can post deals, look for funding, network with everybody. It's a great thing. So, but as we kick off the Monday note here, everybody, our special guest, I've known our special guest here for, golly, about 4 years now. Not only is he a friend, but I am also a client of his. We were friends before we became clients. And Aaron Young has helped thousands of business owners out there make sure their stuff is in gear. He's with Laughlin and Associates, which has been in business since 1941. I'm sorry, been in business for 41 years. And Aaron is just an amazing guy, amazing wealth of information. So make sure you get rid of the distractions in your background, grab that pen and paper, and be ready to take a lot of notes. So without further ado, I give it up to Aaron Young. Aaron, you're on the call here, buddy.
Brother Carson, how are you?
Good, buddy.
I'm good. I'll wait till I see my screen come up, but I want to tell you, I'm really looking forward to working with your folks today. It was great being out there in Newark and speaking to the people at Noteworthy East. And actually what I've done, I don't know how many of the folks, we've got a lot of people registered tonight, and so I don't know how many of them were at Noteworthy, but you might remember that I had to we canceled one of my talks so that we could let me do this real quick. Can you see my presentation there?
Yeah, sure can.
All right, and is up there nice and clean?
Yep.
Perfect. All right, but
anyone like to maximize it because we got looks like the right hand side of your screen is showing.
How's that better?
There you go. That's perfect.
That look good? Okay. But so what I've done is, because I'm going to teach some of the things that we taught at Noteworthy East, and I'm going to also touch on at least the highlights of the talk that we ended up not doing just because we had to jigger speakers around that second day. So if that's okay, and we've got about 45 minutes to do a 90-minute presentation.
Well, take as much time as you need, Aaron. I'm sure nobody's going to complain. I'm not going to cut you off right at an hour, so take your time.
All right. Well, I just want to make sure we do a great job for your people. So guys, Laughlin Associates, actually even a little bit older than Scott said. We started in 1972. We're in our 44th year. We've worked with well over 100,000 entrepreneurs during that time. And we have right now about 46,000 current clients who use us to form entities, keep those entities doing things legally and appropriately, making sure that they're getting, we're able to teach strategies, which is what we're going to do today, about how to use those entities to get the best value. A lot of people think that they're protected behind their corporate veil or their LLC, but they're not, and we're going to show you what that's all about right now. But before I do that, and I've never done this on a webinar before, but I have done it a few times in my public talks, and Scott asked me to share a story. So right before we came on, I said, do you want me to really tell that story on a webinar? And he said, yep, I think it will be good for our viewers. So here you go. What I'm going to tell you right now is a true story. It's one of the most challenging stories of my life, but if it can help other people, then I want to share it. Back in 2002, this is a picture of my little family back in 2002. Those kids are all much bigger now. Matter of fact, one of them's married, one gets married next month, one's working in Maui doing marketing, sales funnels, and so on, and the little tiny guy there is almost 17 years old now. But back in 2002, that was what we looked like. I had all brown hair, no gray at that point. And life was good. We lived in a little suburban home outside of Portland, Oregon. I got to do lots of things that I enjoy. Like I love horseback riding. We now live on a bigger property, more 25 acres, and the horses and all kinds of animals are out there. But at that time, I was really enjoying my time up in the back country, the horseback stuff, working with a number of boards in the Portland area, both civic boards, corporate boards, some nonprofits. One of the programs I worked with was with Dornbecker Children's Hospital here in Portland, with a program called Kids Making Miracles. And I just was living a great life. Laughlin was doing well. We had about 30,000 clients at that time. Things were good. And then one day, these guys showed up in my door, and they had their guns out, their flak jackets on, and they were looking for information about a fellow that we had done quite a lot of business with, who owned a company in another country, and they were interested in anything we had on him. And I felt like it was kind of an overkill to come in with guns not blazing, but guns out. And but once they'd shown me that my company and I personally was not a target of their investigation, we said, well, sure, we'll comply in every way you want. So we handed over some files and downloaded information for them from the computer. And then the special agent in charge said to me, would you mind answering a few questions for us? It's a very confusing case over lots of different companies and corporations, and we're just trying to figure this out. Now, you need to know that I had significantly discontinued doing business. We had really backed off of working with this company about 2 years before, but I was definitely still very friendly and really liked the guy that they were looking at. And it was kind of I was sort of torn emotionally, but I did sit down with them and I did answer their questions for quite some time. And toward the end of the Q&A, they started to get a little bit more, grouchy, let's just call it. And I asked them, I said, are you sure I'm not in any trouble? And they said, no, you're not, but you really need to watch who you do business with. So after these guys left, I called my attorney and I said, oh my gosh, I just had the freakiest experience of my life. And I said, the FBI and the IRS Enforcement Division was in here and asked me all these questions. He said, wait. Aaron, you didn't talk to them, did you? And I said, yeah, I did talk to them. They asked questions and I answered their questions. He said, oh no, you never talked to them. That's a criminal investigation. You should have called me. And of course, having never been in trouble with the government, I thought, I thought you're supposed to help out. That's how foolish I was and how inexperienced. Well, he said, you need a criminal defense lawyer. And talk about my heart just sinking to the floor. And I said, well, who should I hire? What should I do? And he said, well, I know who I'd call, but they're going to be expensive. And he turned me on to this fellow, Roger Olson, who'd been the deputy, or I guess assistant attorney general of the United States over all white-collar and tax crimes for 7 years. He was the #1 lawyer under Ed Meese, who was the attorney general. And I hired Roger and another local attorney, and they contacted the feds and confirmed that I indeed was not a target of the investigation. This is now January of 2003. In April of 2003, I was indicted on conspiracy charges, not because of anything I had done, but because they said I either knew or should have known what this other fellow was doing or at least allegedly doing with his clients, and how that was affecting taxes. So this was all an IRS case. I felt that I was utterly innocent, and my business partner and I began to fight aggressively against these guys. And these were very expensive lawyers, and it was a very aggressive fight. We spent right at $2 million in legal fees trying to defend our honor and our integrity and our business. And I realized after 4 years of fighting that you cannot beat the Internal Revenue Service. And we were tapped out. The business was tapped out. Our personal savings, retirement, everything was tapped out. Interest, mortgage, I should say equity in our homes. And we finally had to do a plea bargain and just give in and end the bleeding. So we found ourselves in front of this man, Judge Answer Haggerty, the Chief Justice of the Portland, Oregon Federal Court, also a member of the Ninth Appellate Court. And we pled guilty to aiding and assisting in the filing of a false corporate tax return. Not that we had ever done anything with the taxes, but because we had made referrals to people, to other companies, and then those clients, at least one client in particular, had inappropriately deducted something on their taxes. Well, that's what we pled guilty to. And a few months later, I jumped in my 2001 Mercedes-Benz E320, my wife and I, and we drove across about an hour and a half, I should say, to this place, the Sheridan, Oregon Federal Correctional Institution. And it doesn't look too bad in those pictures. It looks kind of pretty there, but it's really not that pretty. CNBC does say that if you have to go to prison, it's one of the best places to go to prison. So I had that going for me, which is pretty cool. It looked pretty in that picture. This is what it really looked like when I got there and walked inside. They stripped me down and had me fold up my clothes and give them to my wife. Actually, they took them to my wife. I could see her through the one-way glass, but she couldn't see me anymore. And they processed me in and brought me into a cell like this, 7.5 feet wide by 12 feet long, bunk bed against one wall, a cot against another wall, and then a little stainless steel toilet like you can see in the picture. And when I walked inside of those big reinforced doors with those tall, skinny windows, there were a couple of guys that looked about like this waiting to greet me. And it was very scary. Those guys ended up being, they were bad guys. These are guys who they lived a rough life, but they really looked out for the new guy that first day, and I'll always be grateful for one of them loaning me his shower sandals to wear in the shower. He said, you cannot be barefoot in there, and you can borrow my shampoo. And another one gave me a handful of Starburst candies and a couple of stamps so I could write a couple letters home. And they never wanted anything back for that, and I always will appreciate that. Anyway, sorry, it's hard to not relive that moment when I tell that part of the story. But anyway,
I was there for you were just doing business. You weren't doing any illegal activities. You weren't doing anything.
No, we were filing entities. We were filing entities, but because this other guy had an offshore bank, an offshore trust company, and sometimes they would use Laughlin entities, or we would refer clients to them. If a lawyer, we'd only do it through a law firm. If a law firm came to us and said, we're looking for something in Canada, in Switzerland, in China, in the Caribbean, we would make a referral to a company in that jurisdiction. That's all we ever did. So there was nobody lost money. There was no wire fraud. There was no restitution to make or anything. It was just the IRS said that, in their opinion, we had helped make it possible for some people to cheat on their taxes by us forming companies for them. But anyway, I was there with those guys for 30 days, and then I was transferred over to the satellite camp, and actually one of those windows was where my bunk bed was, and I was there, and this was the guy that I was bunkmates with. He was doing his second 10-year sentence for being a methamphetamine cooker and a significant dealer, and a fellow who had who was a leader of the white guys on the yard, He actually had a really good heart, but he had lived a pretty tough life. So anyway, that was me and him. The yard looks real pretty. You're not allowed to touch any of that pretty green stuff in the background. If you do, you go to the hole. But you can kind of squat down on the sidewalk, and they have a photographer that you can get pictures taken and send them home just so, you know, your family can see you. Anyway, that was Nick Pyle. This was my family and I on Christmas Day in the visiting room. And anyway, that was the kids. And anyway, I was there at the camp for 14 months and 1 week. And I was there, again, not because of something that I had overtly done, but because of something they said I either knew or should have known. And because of that, I've spent the last 10 years especially highly focused on how do we keep business owners from getting in trouble for something, not because they overtly tried to do something wrong, but because they didn't know information, and so they made mistakes. They did things that they shouldn't have done. They didn't protect themselves in the way they thought they were protecting themselves, all because they just didn't know any better. And that's what we're going to try to cover. We're going to cover a lot of information very quickly over the next little while. But let me tell you in advance, I'm going to tell you some stuff, and every single time I share this information with business owners, they get uptight. They get nervous. People come up to me afterwards, sometimes like almost embarrassed, saying, I know my business is messed up, or I'm really freaked out now. Can you help me? Or what do I need to do? And I promise that I will tell you all the things that you need to know. You'll be able to leave this call and have enough information to try to figure out how to do it yourself, or I'll show you how you can very inexpensively have us do it for you. So I don't want you to feel like there is no relief to the tension. I mean, I've literally had grown men, big guys that were very successful, come up to me with tears in their eyes going, oh my crud, I'm so screwed up. So I'm going to teach you some things now, so get ready to learn.
Awesome.
First of all, Scott, you know I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a CPA, so I'm not giving legal or accounting advice, but I'll tell you that this information that I'm about ready to teach you is also accredited as when we do our longer events, that accounts for continuing legal credit or continuing professional credit for lawyers and CPAs. So, but this basically says don't sue Aaron. Laughlin's been around for a long time. We form entities. We help with estate planning, exit planning, lawsuit protection. We help with trademarks, all kinds of corporate compliance issues. The key to any solution, any plan, is always to begin with the end in mind. Stephen Covey taught us in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, begin with the end in mind. Know what it is you're trying to do. We use the blueprint as an example, and you guys are all real estate. You know, you wouldn't just go out and get a bunch of hammer and nails and start pounding them together and believe you're going to end up with a solid structure. You've got to get a plan together. You've got to be able to fully, completely understand what your end goal is. What would the business look like if it was really perfect, if everything was working perfectly? You don't need to know how to get there yet. You just need to know what the end game is supposed to look like. If you begin with the end in mind, I promise you, you will end up with dramatically better results than you will by just sort of fake it as you make, fake it till you make it, kind of pretend as you go along. Just do the same things over and over and over again like you're on a hamster wheel. You'll never grow to the size you could if you don't have a specific plan that identifies what your target is. I love, Scott, that you shared your goals. You know exactly what you're aiming for, and you can look at a scoreboard every single day and know how you're doing. So what we want you to do is, first of all, take time on 1 or 2 pieces of legal paper to write down exactly what your outcome is that you want. Don't worry about how you're going to get it. Just know what it is you want and write it down, review it every day, and tell other people every day what that plan is. And if you do that, if you know what you're headed for, I guarantee you that your results will happen much more quickly, and in ways that are sometimes almost mystical, but there is no mysticism to it. It's just going from working by yourself in a vacuum to letting other people know what you're doing in a way that they can clearly understand, so they can offer help and counsel and advice. They can introduce you to key people. They can give you things to read. They can tell you, TED Talks to watch or webinars to get on, so that you can get to your goal quicker. Begin with the end in mind. When we know what it is we're working towards, we know how to build the machine to get there. So once we know what the goal is, we can begin to build the fortress. People use business entities because business is risky. The real estate business, we have thousands and thousands and thousands of people in real estate that are our clients. And the reason is there's a ton of money to be made there, and they need lawsuit protection and tax planning. They just need that because business is risky, and when you're dealing with renters, you're dealing with evictions, you're dealing with contractors working on job sites and so on, there's just challenges. 57% of the lawsuits filed against businesses in the United States are against companies that are little companies, $1 million in revenue or less. 57% of the lawsuits are filed against companies with $1 million of top-line revenue or less. So don't think that just because you're a small company that you're safe, that, hey, I'm just a nice person, we're just a small company, we're not a deep pocket, nobody's going to come after us. That is flat-out fantasy. So don't lull yourself into complacency because you're believing some sort of false story. This is the reality. Bolt Insurance is the second largest reinsurance company in the United States, and they did an extensive study on lawsuits against businesses, and this was one of the interesting findings in that. So we know that it's smart to use entities. My guess is most of you are using corporations or LLCs, probably a lot of LLCs. The reason we use these things is for lawsuit protection, tax savings, protection against creditors. Why do we need protection against creditors? Because 80% of companies go out of business. And the reason corporations and LLCs exist is so that if your business fails and you have, these sort of obligations out there that were the company's obligations, if you've set yourself up properly, you can just cauterize that bleeding. You can stop it. The creditors can't get through the company to you. The company's dead, forget it. You're not going to get paid on this deal. Okay? That's what corporations were originally, 500 years ago, set up to do. Protect merchants who had ships going out of Europe and going over to Asia or going around the Horn to the New World. Some of those ships sank and great fortunes were lost. Well, the merchant didn't want to get wiped out by that one ship sinking and having people coming after them that had an interest in that voyage. And so they were protected by the crown. Well, today, the United States government protects you from your creditors. Why? Why? Because they know there are only a very few of you who have the guts to go out and take the risks that you do. And they need to protect entrepreneurial-minded people. They know that you're the only people that are out there that are shoring up the economy, that are hiring people, that are keeping money moving around. Wealth is created by velocity of money. The economy grows when there's a rapid velocity of money. Only a tiny fraction of the population are really involved in that, and they're called entrepreneurs. The government knows that 80% of companies fail, but you're going to come up with new ideas. So they say, let's protect these bold, daring, mentally ill people, and that are willing to take these insane risks. We're going to give them corporations and LLCs to protect them. We're also going to give them financial incentive called tax deductions and tax credits that the normal W-2 employee just doesn't get. So protection against creditors is huge, and lawsuit protection, huge. Also estate planning. Your company doesn't die. You just re-elect a new member of the board. You just put in a new president. And then prestige and credibility. It's really interesting how if you're president of a company, that may get you in a door that just being a sole proprietor would not get you in, because there's an appearance of a bigger company with more money and maybe more age and more credibility that's going to help close deals. The way you get all those benefits is by keeping you and the business separated. I am not the corporation. The corporation is not me. It's the most important thing I will teach you today. I am not the corporation. The corporation is not me. You don't want to get yourself so entwined with your company that you go, well, that's my money. Those are my tools, my computer, and so on. If the company bought it with money you used to capitalize the company, if the company took deductions for it, it's not yours, kids. It's the company's. Now, when you can get that separation issue clear in your mind, you will have such protection under the law like you cannot believe. And if you screw this up and you're ever challenged in a lawsuit, an audit, a divorce, partnership breakup, whatever, if you screw this up, your company will not protect you. I don't care how many times you've paid the state your renewal fees. It won't matter. The company will be nothing. It'll be rice paper. It will just dissolve. Okay? I'm not the corporation. The corporation is not me. Now, you got to choose the right entity. There's sole proprietors. I don't know how many of you are sole proprietors. We're going to do this really fast because the meat is after this. A sole proprietor is not one person inside of a corporation. A sole proprietor is just you doing business as you. You can have a DBA, you know, a name doing business as, but if there is no corporation or LLC or limited partnership, then it's just you doing business as you. It's very, very simple. There's no other obligation or requirement, but there's zero liability protection and limited tax benefits, okay? You can be a corporation. Corporations start out as C corporations. If you're raising outside investment capital, if you have investors, you may be best organized as a C corporation. If you want to simplify your taxes and your reporting and you want to just do things the easy way, you're kind of a mom and pop sort of shop, then you can do an election, file a form to become an S corporation, and that way all your gains or losses from your real estate investments flow up along with any W-2 income, rents, other stuff you're selling. Like I have a farm, so we have farm income, and everything kind of flows up into one pot, is all kind of homogenized, and whatever the prevailing tax rate is what it is. That's an S corp. Many of you may be LLCs. LLCs are an absolutely amazing entity. I love using LLCs when there's two or more people involved. But if your main operating business, the main company that you're doing business out of, is an LLC and there's only one member of the LLC, or if it's you and your spouse that you think you have two members because you and your spouse and it's like 50-50, LLCs the law considers a spouse or the spouses as one member of the LLC. So if you and your spouse own the LLC and that's the only members, you're a one-member LLC. And if you're a one-member LLC and that's your primary operating business, you're using the business wrong. You're using the entity incorrectly. Now, you could hold a piece of real estate in a one-member LLC that's controlled by maybe a C Corp or an S Corp or a multi-member LLC. But as your main operating business, it should be two or more members, and they cannot be spouses, okay? If that's new information to you, as it is for almost everybody, then make sure you reach out to us at the end because we can help you fix it, okay? And it's going to cost typically nothing to fix that, or very, very little, but you need some guidance, some counsel, and it's different in different states. Okay, now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how to use business entities together so that you can take away the incentive to be sued. Remember, I'm not the corporation is not me, and the main thing is protection against creditors and lawsuit protection. So what you want to do is stop lawsuits before they start. And the way you stop lawsuits before they start is to look like a bad target for a lawsuit. Look like it's going to be fruitless for that adversary, and especially if they're using a lawyer who's working on contingency or commission. The lawyer doesn't want to work for commission if there's nothing to get. You see this guy's got empty pockets. We want you to look like you have empty pockets to your adversaries, okay? Now, this is something that I was going to teach at Noteworthy East. We ended up not teaching this class because we had to move some things around. So I gave part of this information, and I did not give this part. So the Rockefeller strategy, and I'm only going to give you the cliff notes on it, it's basically a way to use two or more entities to create unbelievable asset protection. The goal is to take away the incentive to be sued, to set up a corporation that's a separate legal person from you, and make that separate legal person a friendly priority creditor. Remember those words, friendly priority creditor. We're going to use two companies. One's going to be a holding company. One's going to be an operating company. The holding company is going to have everything that's super valuable, and I'll show you in a minute. And the operating company is going to be the one that you're actively doing business in. The holding company, nobody knows about. The operating company, everybody knows about, because you have a website, you have business cards, you're running advertisements, you're out, bidding on stuff, you're showing up places saying, I'm the manager, or I'm the CEO or president of, XYZ operating company, okay? The holding company is used to hold the valuable stuff, and we keep it private because we want it to have little or no exposure. We don't want the valuable stuff at risk. The holding company is going to hold things like trademarks and intellectual property, real estate. It may not be real estate you're trying to flip, but real estate you want to protect, like maybe your beach house or something. It can hold cash. It can be the bank for a lot of your transactions. The operating company wants to engage with the holding company in some way. The operating company says, I need something the holding company has, whether it's intellectual property, or you're going to do a licensing agreement, or you're going to do a lease back, or we use it like a bank, and it loans money from the holding company to the operating company. I mean, how many of you on the call or watching the video are using money for your real estate investment that you got from a 401k or a self-directed IRA, or money that you inherited, or money that you borrowed, or credit cards that you maxed out? Well, instead of dumping all of that money directly into your operating business, imagine if you dumped it into a holding company in a privacy jurisdiction like Nevada, Wyoming, where nobody knows who owns it, and then the holding company loans the money, right? In your case, we're going to talk about money. Loans the money to the operating company. So imagine, we do a loan, okay? Just like you'd go to a bank or go to a private investor. Now this holding company is separate from you, although very friendly toward you, and they loan money to the operating company. They take a promissory note in exchange for that money, and you set up a payment plan with an interest rate, and guess what? You make payments. Now maybe it's a once-a-year interest-only payment, or maybe it's a very high-interest payment that's made every year. It really depends on how successful the operating company is. Believe me, the holding company will give you very favorable terms, okay? Now, you've made a loan. You've got a proper legal document that explains the relationship of the two companies, and you're acting out on the loan by making payments with interest. All of this is utterly private. Nobody knows it exists. It's just really between the holding company, which you are a senior, maybe the only shareholder of, and the operating company, which you may be the only shareholder of. Now remember, though, I'm not the corporation. The corporation is not me. So don't say they're both you, but you are a shareholder in both, maybe the only shareholder in both, but you're not the company. The company's not you. Now, the holding company, just like a bank would be, they say, boy, that operating company's out doing a lot of risky stuff, and we've got money at risk now. And although we have this note, we want a little more protection. So we're going to do a lien. We're going to go file a UCC-1 at the county where the operating business is, and we're going to lien their accounts payable, their computers, their desks, anything that they've got that may be valuable at the operating company. The holding company is going to put a lien against it until such time as the loan is fully repaid, and then we can release our lien. Okay? So what have we done here? We've moved money from a private company, nobody knows who owns it, to the operating company. We've set it up all properly, just like you would if you went to Wells Fargo or to a hard money lender or to whomever. You've done it all right, and you've created a lien that states in the public record the operating company owes the holding company money. Here's what happens. There's something in the law that's called first in time, first in right, or in other words, first in time, first in line. If the operating company gets sued and they lose the lawsuit, and they have a judgment against them now. Somebody fell out of a window at an apartment complex. Somebody got hurt on a job site. Something bad happened. There was a divorce. There was a partnership breakup. There was a who knows what happened. Now, when that judgment creditor comes after the operating company with the judgment, the operating company says, okay, we're going to pay you, but first we have to pay the priority creditor, the holding company, the Nevada holding company, where nobody knows who the shareholder is, because they were first in line to get paid. Do you understand how? Can you hear me, Scott?
Yes, that's freaking awesome, Aaron. That's just like turning your people coming after you into a junior lien holder where your the holding company controls everything. That's freaking awesome, Aaron.
This is what we didn't get to teach the other day, but I'm so glad we're teaching it now, because in your business, this is magic. Now, you can add pieces and parts to this, but this one thing, John D. Rockefeller said to his son, his children, on his deathbed, own nothing, control everything. And in this strategy, the Rockefeller strategy, you're organized so to the world, to your adversaries out there, you own nothing, but you control all of it. It's a fabulous strategy.
That's awesome.
So why do we use Nevada? We use Nevada because nobody knows who the shareholders are. It's not in the public record. There's no state income tax, so you can earn money you can take money from a high tax jurisdiction like, let's say California or Oregon or New York or a lot of places, move it into a zero tax jurisdiction for a state tax, for state tax. So at least you're going to save that state tax, and there are no usury laws in Nevada, which means you can charge a high or low interest rate depending on whatever the holding company wants to do. And no other state offers protection for shareholders, officers, and directors like Nevada. And Nevada corporations and LLCs both share equally in what's called charging order protection. In other words, no adversary, even if they've won a judgment against you, can take away your ownership of that company. They can't take your shares from you like they can in every other state. Do you see the power in that?
That's awesome.
So there you go. That's the Rockefeller strategy. Now, the only way any of this works, the way to get lawsuit protection, all the tax deductions, the Rockefeller strategy stuff, none of it works if you forget the basics. Corporations, whether it's C Corp, S Corp, LLC, all of them have one thing in common, which is they have to do corporate formalities. They have to keep records. They have to have regular board meetings. They have to keep minutes of those meetings. They have to pass resolutions. And people say, but how can I do that? I'm the only shareholder. I'm the only member of the board of directors. How am I going to have a meeting with myself? That's like schizophrenic. I'm not going to do it. It just seems so ridiculous to do it. But here's the deal. The laws are made by people in government. Most of these people sitting in state and federal congresses, assemblies, they're lawyers, and they do all of it in legalese. And legalese follows a certain parliamentary procedure, and they say, look, we will give you all this asset protection. We will protect you from creditors. We will help you, not have to carry all the baggage of failed companies with you. We'll give you all these tax incentives, all these tax credits. We'll do all of this for you. All you have to do is follow the rules that show that you and the company are separate. If you do that, we'll protect you. But if you don't, then you have no promise. The law will not protect you. And that liability protection tax benefits just evaporate. And you end up like this guy with, it's like the emperor with no clothes. You just naked in front of all your adversaries. If you do it right, you get all kinds of benefits. There's so many things that you can get that benefit your life with pre-tax dollars with a properly organized corporation or LLC. There's a great book called Lower Your Taxes Big Time by Sandy Botkin, who's a friend of mine, and he says you would have to be brain dead to not have a properly organized corporation or LLC because of all the cool things you can do with pre-tax money instead of after-tax money. But if you are living this great pre-tax life and you're not keeping proper corporate records and you get audited, you end up with getting all those things taken away from you. So here's the bottom line. You get all kinds of deductions, all kinds of protections. There's huge benefits for a business owner that's doing it right. There's also big responsibility. Not hard responsibility, just significant responsibility. And the biggest mistake, the hugest mistake that we see corporate owners make, corporations and LSAs make, is their failure to document their business decisions. They don't hold meetings. They don't keep minutes. They don't pass resolutions about decisions. And when they don't do that, they're screwed. If you get audited, they will take away all your tax deductions. They can go back 3 years, 5 years, depending on the infraction. And not only will they say you owe us that money that you inappropriately deducted because you're really acting like a sole proprietor, not like a corporation or LLC. Not only do you have to pay it, but we're going to charge you a 45% penalty for doing it wrong. And if you can't pay that right now, we'll charge you a fair market interest rate until you get it all paid off. You can lose thousands, if you're big enough, hundreds of thousands of dollars of deductions simply because you didn't keep board meetings. You didn't hold meetings and keep minutes and pass resolutions. You see, the formal documents are the only thing that show that you and the company are separate. Remember I told you the most important thing I was going to teach you? The documents are the only thing that show that the company is not your alter ego, but rather a true, properly organized and operating entity, a separate legal paper person. That's what they call it, a paper person, a legal fiction is what the law calls it. Separate from you, not your alter ego, but a real separate entity. Piercing the corporate veil is all about saying, oh, well, you're treating like the company and you are the same, so we're going to bust right through the company, take everything the company's got, and then take everything you've got. Wake Forest Law Review says piercing the corporate veil has become the most litigated issue in corporate law today. In every case, the plaintiff's intent is to acquire the personal and business assets of the company, and half the time they win. So we don't want that. And small corporations and LLCs are the ones that have the greatest risk. Why? Because you don't know the rules and you don't follow the rules and you don't have in-house counsel and you do your own taxes and you don't want to bother with a lawyer. Some people say, Aaron, I have a lawyer. And I'm like, sure you do. You have a friend who's a lawyer, right? Here's the deal. Small corporations, LLCs are easy targets. They get creamed easily because they don't know the rules, so they don't follow the rules. So what do we need to do? Well, first of all, we have to have regular board meetings. Here's the deal. Let's talk about this for a minute. When you're acting as the director of the company, not the officer, but the director, that's the board of directors' job is to set the direction and the vision and to give assignments to the officers. So when you're thinking about how you're going to grow your business, when you're thinking about should we sign that contract, should we buy that deal, should we lease this space, should we give ourselves medical insurance, whatever it is, by law, you're obligated to have a meeting. But where are you when you're doing that? You're driving in the car, or you're dozing off to sleep at night, or you're standing in the shower, utterly relaxed, and your mind goes into a different gear and you relax. At those moments, the odds of you stopping everything you're doing and going, it's time to call this meeting to order. Let's take roll. Who's here? I'm here alone in the shower, but, okay, good. We have a full board. We'll go ahead and dispense with the reading of the minutes from last time and go right to the business at hand. You're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. You have never done it before, and you're never going to do it in the future. You know why? It doesn't make any sense to you. And it seems weird to have a meeting by yourself, especially driving or especially in the shower. You're not going to do it. But you need to do it. And what are the things you need to do? Well, you need to say, on this day, in this place, these people got together, or this person got together with himself or herself and talked about these issues for the company. Every single state requires that you hold regular board meetings, not just once a year annual meeting where you reelect the board. You're supposed to have regular board meetings, at least quarterly. But if you're very active in doing a lot of stuff, you need to have them much more often. Every state requires that you have board meetings and that you write down where did the meeting happen, who was there, what did you talk about, and then what did you decide. We call those resolutions. The board has resolved to get a new CPA, to give a car allowance, to lease a postage machine, to borrow money from the holding company, to loan money, to give the officer a raise in pay, to open a bank account, and on and on and on. The resolutions are the permission slips from the board to the president or the manager of the LLC to go and do something. So when you evaluate where you are right now in your corporate compliance, in your record keeping, and how active you are in having your meetings and protecting your assets and doing all the things you're supposed to do, I just ask you, who do you feel more like in this picture? And I will tell you that almost everybody I meet is looking good in orange today, okay? What are some other ways that we commingle funds or that we pierce the veil? One is we commingle funds. We take our we go to Staples to get office supplies, and we don't have our business checkbook with us, so we write a personal check saying, oh, I'll just get or vice versa. We go to the grocery store, and we have our business checkbook, and we say, oh, we'll square it away later up on the books. Or here's one. How many of you have a credit card that you applied for with your own credit? Your company didn't have its own standalone credit. It may have your company's name on it, but it took your personal credit to get that credit card, and you only use it for business expenses. And at the end of the month, the bill comes, you review it, you identify that these are all business expenses. So you take your corporate checkbook and you write a check to Citibank or whatever, and you mail it off and you pay your credit card bill right on time, just like any good person would do. Okay, if you do that, if you use your corporate credit or corporate bank account to pay a bill, that you used your personal credit to get that credit card, that's commingling of funds. Why? Because if you worked for Disney Corporation and you used a personal credit card to do business expenses, you would submit an expense report to the company. The company would review it, reimburse you, and then you would write a personal check to your credit card company to pay the bill. If you're not going to that extra step, having the company reimburse you and then you paying your credit card bill, you have commingled funds, you have pierced your corporate veil, and that's a mess. Then if you get sued or you get audited, that's another way, it's another behavior that shows the company is just your alter ego, not a separate person from you. What else? Anytime you sign any document for the company, always put your title, president or manager or vice president or director, but always put your title. If you don't put your title and you've done anything at all on behalf of the business and then the business fails, your creditors can come after you individually saying, look, we see that from time to time we were doing business with you, the individual, not you, the officer of the company. So something as simple as not putting your title down, even on a check, certainly on any kind of a formal document, anything that you're doing, just add your title. So it clearly identifies that it wasn't you doing it, it was the officer of the company doing something. If you don't, your veil's pierced. If you let your company go out of good standing, you pay your fees late, and it goes out of good standing, and then you have to go make it up and pay penalties later on. You don't want to do that, but lots of us get that renewal notice from the state, and we set it aside because we're busy, and then all of a sudden we're late, we're paying late fees and so on. I meet people every single week who are 2-3 years behind in their state fees. If you let your company go into out of good standing with the state, that pierces the corporate veil. It shows that the company didn't matter because it was really just your alter ego. Here's another one. Just do nothing. If you do nothing to protect your thing poking up in the air right there, then you're going to get your thing poking up in the air kicked one of these days if you ever get challenged. So people say, okay, but Aaron, I mean, come on, get real. Who's ever going to come after me? Who's ever going to want to look at that stupid record book? I've had the record book since day one. It's been on my shelf. It's covered in dust and cobwebs. I've never touched it. Nobody's ever asked to look at it. Okay, well, here's what I'm going to tell you. First of all, I bet a bunch of people on the call don't even have a corporate record book. They they went to an online incorporation service and paid, $199 to get incorporated, and they don't have bylaws, they don't have stock, they don't have a book, they don't have any way of keeping minutes or resolutions. There is nothing. That means you're not a real company. All you've done is filed your name at the state. You've got to have a corporate record book. You got to pull it out regularly. And anytime you get sued or audited, you're always going to be asked for your corporate minute book. It'll be one of the first 2 or 3 things asked for in any discovery that your adversary wants every time. And if you don't have it and you go in, they will say, oh, I guess the corporation was just your alter ego. You have no protection. People say this, Aaron, I'm a nice person. I'm a small company. I'm not doing anything wrong. Why would anybody sue me? Remember I told you that Bolt Insurance says 57% of lawsuits are against little companies, companies with $1 million in revenue or less. They're easy targets. It doesn't matter if you're nice. It doesn't matter if you're small. All that means is you're easy. You're easy. And you're an easy $10,000 or whatever to pay somebody to go away and leave you alone. Don't ever fool yourself by saying nobody's going to sue me. We are the most litigious country in the world. We have 94% of the world's litigation here in the United States, and 57% of that is against little companies. I'm new. It doesn't matter. I don't even need to adjust that one. It doesn't matter. Then some people will say, well, Aaron, I'm an LLC. I thought LLCs don't have to keep corporate records. And that would be kind of true. Statutorily, in other words, the way the laws were written in almost every state, LLCs are not obligated to keep corporate minutes, to keep past resolutions, to issue stock or any of that. Guess what? There's something in the U.S. law that supersedes the statute, and it's called case law. And in every state, case law shows that even for LLCs, you need to be keeping minutes and passing resolutions and having regular meetings of the owners. Why? Remember I told you before one-member LLCs are useless. And I'll tell you why. Because a one-member LLC is considered a disregarded entity both for tax and litigation purposes. What does that mean? That means that the adversary just ignores it. A one-member LLC does not give you asset protection, and it only allows you to be taxed in the same way a sole proprietor or an S corp would be, which means everything just passes through to you, the individual. So now, no tax benefit, no asset protection benefit. And thus, case law shows over and over and over again, even one-member LLCs should be keeping records. Certainly two-member LLCs, where there's the potential for an argument. You guys now, everybody thought they loved each other at the beginning, but now we're fighting, and we go to court, and the judge, all they can do is say, show me the records where you agreed to this, that, or the other thing. So if I have an LLC, I need to keep corporate records. People say, I'll never get audited. Well, I will say, to be honest, in 2015, audits are down because the IRS is doing all this implementation of Obamacare. But up until the beginning of 15, audits against small companies of $3 million in top line or less were up 38% over the last couple of years, because $1.4 billion has been given to the IRS in the last few years to hire tens of thousands of new revenue agents, and their job is to do more audits, and they're doing this to pay for an expanding amount of social programs the government's paying for. They need people to be paying taxes. They need to find more money from the taxpayers, so they've increased audits significantly. And while that has loosened a little bit in 2015, the mandate is more audits, more audits, more audits. And so small companies are much more highly audited because the government knows you're easy. You're an easy target, and they're going to get their quota of about just under $4,000 on average from the small one-person kind of company. I'll have my attorney keep my documents. This is the silliest thing I ever hear. I told you a minute ago, you don't have a lawyer probably. I mean, you might have a real estate lawyer that you're working with. Almost none of you have corporate lawyers that you're working with. I have 46,000 current clients. Almost none of them have lawyers. I speak at events every week to small business owners. They do not have lawyers. They don't like lawyers. They have somebody at church that they know who's a lawyer, or their cousin's a lawyer, or they play on a softball league with a lawyer. They go, that's my lawyer. but you're not paying them $300-400 an hour to do your documents. I know you're not doing it. And so just don't fool yourself. You can tell me any story you want. Don't fool yourself. Because if you fool yourself and you get challenged, you're screwed. Here's the biggest fallacy of all. I will do it myself. Entrepreneurs don't like to do paperwork. You won't do it yourself. You've never done it yourself, so why fool yourself? Plus, you don't even know what you're supposed to do. And it sounds like I'm being mean or something, but because we're very short on time, I want to just get to the point and say, you guys want to go out and make deals and buy stuff and make big money. You don't want to pay or sit there late at night and figure out what corporate records am I supposed to be keeping. You don't even know what they are. So I'm going to give you a small example, a short example, a far from comprehensive example of some of the things that must be documented in board resolution, okay? So just, you don't need to take notes. Just try to read some of these, okay? Because it's a little disturbing. What we don't know. You know, what you don't know that you don't know. And it's when you start looking at the hundreds of things that are supposed to be done by board resolution, and you realize that if I asked you to name 12 of them, you'd probably struggle.
Yeah.
This should be done in a minute, Scott. Okay, there we go. I could have that go on and on and on, but we're out of time. So I just want you folks to know, you've got to do this. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. If you want the protection, you want the lawsuit protection, and you want the tax deductions, you must do this stuff. So you need to ask yourself, are you in compliance? And I speak all the time. I speak in front of tens of thousands of people every year, and the answer is probably for 95% of you, no, you're not in compliance. But if you fail to keep proper corporate records and you're ever sued, you have a 50 to 94% of chance of losing your personal assets to satisfy that business judgment. 50 to 94%. If you're sued, you have up to 94% chance of losing your personal stuff to satisfy the business judgment. Do you hear that? Why? Because your corporate veil will get pierced. And we don't want that to happen. What we want to do is make sure the documents are in place so that if anybody comes after your business, they might be able to get something in the business. And that's a whole other discussion of how we segment out your risk. But for today's discussion, what I want to have happen is you're going to be taking wealth out of your company and either to the holding company or to you personally. We want the corporate documents to become this impenetrable wall, this force field that is impossible to get through. And it's absolutely possible to make it impenetrable because the law will protect you if you follow the law. If you don't follow the law, you will get no protection. If you follow the law, you will get protection 100% of the time. Now, in Webster's dictionary, it defines client is one that is under the protection of another. And I want everybody to be my client. I want everyone in the sound of my voice to become a Laughlin Associates client. We've been in business for 44 years, kids, and we have all these tens of thousands of clients. Why? Because we try to do the exact right thing for the client, to do what they need as they need it, not before, but as they need it, so that they're protected. And once somebody becomes a client of ours, they stay a client for years and years and years and years and years. Usually they die or they go out of business. That's the only reason they quit being a client. So if you feel like you're out of compliance, if you feel like you've messed things up, if you feel like you've been commingling funds, if you know you haven't been keeping regular records and passing resolutions, don't be freaked out because it's fixable. It's all fixable. And you can go out and try to do it yourself, or you can go to a lawyer, or you can let us help you. And I'm just going to tell you what we do. If you're really committed to running your company like a real company, not your alter ego, but a real company, and creating that solid, impervious fortress wall that will keep everybody out of your personal pocket, then what we do is we're inviting you to become a member of our Corporate Veil Protection Service. We have thousands and thousands and thousands of companies that we do that work for, where we help them. We do it for them. We call you on the phone and we help you have those meetings, keep the minutes, pass the resolutions, keep it all done properly so you're protected. So how do we do it? We help you maintain the corporate formality. We call you on the phone. We talk to you to make sure that we know exactly what happened this month. We track your corporate history so that if you're ever challenged, it's all demonstratable. This eliminates the risk of having the corporate veil pierced by the IRS or by courts, by frivolous lawsuits, by creditors, or anybody else that's trying to do you harm. If there's some ne'er-do-well out there that wants to hurt you, we're going to stop that. And I'm going to show you just how positive we are that we can stop it. We've been doing this for a long time. Our renewal rate amongst our clients in this program is 86%. I'm going to explain to you why. We're going to establish and maintain the corporate record so your company is always in good standing with the law. You're never going to get behind. We're always going to be out in front of all the filings, everything you're supposed to do to keep that company in good standing in your state and in your county. We're going to make sure that the record-keeping process is easy and streamlined. We're going to make sure that you have constant access to information. And this slide has got we've got a new name now. It's called Laughlin Academy, and I'll show you in a minute. We're going to give you free lifetime access. It's normally $300 a year to the Laughlin Academy. What we chose here is Laughlin Institute. I thought laughlinacademy.com was a better URL, so we changed it. That's a membership site that we're constantly adding to. There's just dozens of short videos that are frequently asked questions of everything that has to do with corporations and LLCs and operating them, and what's the job of the officer, the manager, the member, what's member managed versus manager managed, just all this stuff that you don't really maybe know that much about, but you need a bite-sized chunk so you can make smart decisions. And even if you need to go to your lawyer or CPA, you at least are intelligent enough, you're armed with information, so you ask good questions. So you go in there. So we're going to do an initial setup of all your corporate records. We're going to go back in time. We're going to call you twice a month to interview out of you what else needs to be to document what have you done? Have you signed any agreements? Have you got a new deal that you just bought? Did you set up a new bank account? Did you go bring in a new hard money lender? Is somebody an investor in a property? What are you doing? We're going to provide you a corporate kit. Many of you won't even have one now. That's part of the program. We're going to provide professional resident agent service. Now, what is that? A resident agent is simply the one that the sheriff brings the lawsuit to. So if you are currently your own resident agent and you don't want the sheriff coming into your office, coming to your front door, tracking you down someplace, if you've got any other kind of a public business like a restaurant or a hair salon or any place where there's people sitting around, you may not want the sheriff walking in with the lawsuit. So we provide that service for you in all 50 states. We're going to go back in time, and we're going to figure out what it was that needed to be documented, and we're going to reconstruct those records with you. Our person will do all the work, but we're going to interview it out of you so that you're not just starting from today, but we can go back and say, look, here's what was done. We're going to reconstruct all the records properly, and then we're going to ratify the decisions of the board back then. We're going to continue to train you with what we call our Blueprint Strategy webinar series. You're going to get our newsletter, which has always got great legal and tax tips as well as other small business advice from people like Scott Carson. We're also going to give you 2 tickets to any event that we do. We just did, a couple days ago, the Millionaire Secrets of Using a Corporation. Our next one is called Advanced Asset Protection and Tax Planning Workshop. But it doesn't matter. You're going to get 2 tickets to any of our 2 or 3 day workshops. When you learn the stuff that we teach you there and you really learn how to protect your wealth and to start living a pre-tax life, it's like getting a 25-30% pay increase. Just because now you really know how to use your business entity to its fullest. It's really an amazing, eye-opening experience. We had, at this last event that we just did up in Lake Tahoe, we had 3 clients there who had net worth over $100 million. We had lots of millionaires, but we had 3 real big, very, very successful clients there. And you know what they told us? They said, we always try to come at least every couple of years to one of your events because we learn every time how we can do better at the stuff that we're doing. These are not beginners. These are people who are doing really significant things, who've been in business a long time, but they learn every, Scott, you said something really nice at the beginning, that every time you hear me do one of these different presentations that you pick something else up, which I appreciate the endorsement. But the fact is we can only retain so much information. And so it's really good to get out of your work mode and get into education mode, learning mode. And you can do that when you have a couple days to just disconnect from the world and focus on how can I improve things with my business. So anyway, if you add all that stuff up, there's this big value. I hate doing stuff like that, but the fact is, the reality is if you take 2 seminar tickets and you take our Platinum Corporate Veil program and you take $300 a year for the Laughlin Academy and you do all those things, you put it together, it really adds up actually to just a little bit more than that. But what we want to do is offer it to you guys, just like we did it at the program in Newark, at a better price than that. We offer a $125,000 corporate compliance guarantee. This is what this means. If you're using us and you're actually doing the work, now, just because you buy the program, if you don't ever talk to us on the phone, if we cannot get the records done, that's on you. But if you engage with us and we do the work and we get your records caught up, which I guarantee you we'll do our part if you'll do your part.
That's correct.
Then we offer a $125,000 guarantee that says if your veil gets pierced, we'll cover up to $125,000 of audit or legal costs. You know why we can do that? It's because your veil will not be pierced if you're doing our program. But we're willing to back it up with money. We've got an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. We've got endless clients that are happy, endorsable clients. You're not going to find bad stuff about us on the web because we have great clients and we have great staff and we provide a service that you all need. And it's only a matter of if you want to run the odds and say, I don't think today is the day that I'll have that accident. I don't think today or this week or this year is the year that I'll get the notice. But eventually, it happens to people. The first 5 people that are on the conference, and I'll extend this out. You know, Scott, I don't know. I'll leave it to you to figure this out, but I know that there will be people listening to this later. But maybe we won't only want to benefit people that were here live. I don't know. But here's the deal. However Scott decides, but within tight constraints, the first few people can have a 30-minute one-on-one with me. Why would you want to have a one-on-one with me? It's not about this stuff we just talked about, because you can get that from any of our senior people at Laughlin, and we will help you understand what you've got, what your business is, how to use it. We'll do that. We will help you. And you can call as often as you want, and we'll help you. I get $1,000 an hour on the phone or $15,000 a day face-to-face. Why? Because I've started and grown a number of multi-million-dollar companies that not only make a lot of money, but they also run without me having to be in the office. So if you would like to learn how to build your business into something that's bigger than just you, that transcends you, that becomes an asset that works for you even when you're not there, then you might want to talk to me. I've done this in the public and the private sector, meaning private companies and publicly traded companies. We've raised lots of money. I've just done a lot of things. So you can use me and use this consult as a way to look much more deeply at your company and what you're trying to do, what your big goals are, and how you want to reach those goals. The price is actually, you know what? We did this a little bit better for your people, Scott. We just did this today. So this slide says it's 5 payments of $24.95, or you can pay all of it up front. It's $19.95. So the single payment of $1,995 that gets you the Platinum Corporate Veil Protection Service, going back in time, getting your records caught up if need be, your corporate record book, the resident agent service so you can avoid the sheriff, the Laughlin Academy, the 2 tickets to the event of your choice. I will promise you, I'll give your money back if you don't like this. If you come to an event that we do, and there's no selling at our events unless you want to buy a strategy that we're teaching, if you come to one of our events, you will get so much more use value than any money that you would have ever potentially paid, certainly more than this $2,000 if you do this single payment. But the installment we set up for your people, Scott, literally, we just did this, and if they go to corpveilprotection.com, CORPVEIL protection.com, Corp Veil Protection, We set up a page just today for this webinar, and they redid the installment thing where, and I may say it a little bit wrong, but I think it was $375 down, and then I think it was 12 payments of $175. So it makes it incredibly accessible to people. Instead of having to come up with a $2,000 check, it's $375 down, which is like, I don't know what to equate that to, but it could be like taking a couple of clients out to dinner and drinks.
I've had bar tabs
and $175
on that.
Okay, yeah. If you're drinking, it's more. But and then $175, and then the second year, it drops down considerably. The renewal is $79 a month after that for us to continue doing those records for you. Also, if you do this, if you jump in on this program that we're doing with Scott Carson, and you sign up for either the installment program or the $19.95, and if you need to set up another LLC or a corporation right now, if you buy into this program, we will do that. You're going to pay the filing fees, but we're going to provide everything else. We're going to do all the work. We're going to do the corporate record book. So you're going to have all that. We're going to get the name. We're going to help you get the tax ID number. We're going to walk you through the book after you get it. We're going to do free consulting with our senior consultants at the office. So if you want to do this and you want to get your corporate records set up, you want to do that part. This is the Corporate Veil Protection Program. It's either $19.95, and that includes all the stuff we talked about, or the installment price that I just talked about. You can go to corpveilprotection.com and sign up, or you can call the number at that website and or the number at the bottom of the screen here, and ask your questions. And if you want to talk about that other thing, the Rockefeller strategy that we talked about before, just ask to talk to one of the senior consultants. They're the only ones that are qualified. So that's Scott or Randy, and Scott Arden or Randy Reese. Those are the guys. To become a senior consultant at Laughlin, you have to have worked with at least 10,000 clients. So they can talk to you about the Rockefeller strategy if that's something that you want to discuss. And so then talk to one of them. Or if you say, well, this is all great, but I have 9 companies, is there any better deal for 9 companies than one? And the answer is yes. So just once you're in this door, then there is significant volume discounts, and there is unbelievable education and basically unlimited free consulting with our top people. And if you're one of the first few people to jump in on this, you can work 30 minutes with me, and I just promise you that will be valuable time. I was on with somebody that was referred. For a minute, I thought it was from you, Scott, but it was from somebody else just this week. But it was a real estate thing, significant project they're on. But in a 30-minute consult, we identified and worked it out even with their attorney. We saved them $1.5 million.
Wow.
In a transaction they were going to do, $1.5 million in taxes.
Wow.
In 30 minutes.
Wow.
Because they just weren't organized properly.
Mm-hmm.
And we were able to go in there and say, what's the end game? What is it you're trying to do? Oh, let's reorganize your entities like this. Here's why. The lawyer blessed the whole thing, and they were just amazed. Now, those people paid $1,000 an hour for that conversation. But wow. At first they said $1,000 an hour is a lot of money, and I said, well, if you don't think it's worth it, then I'll give your money back. At the end of it, I said, was the $1,000 worth it? And they were just like laughing almost out loud, going, "Oh yeah."
You should have charged them double then. So listen.
No, you don't ever go into a conversation knowing what the questions are going to be.
Totally.
And so here's my deal. I want people to be successful. I want entrepreneurs to make a lot of money in appropriate legal ways. The system, if you understand it, isn't stacked against you. It will benefit you, will bless you. But most of us are going around ignorant to everything, so we look for loopholes. We look for secrets. We look for little cheats. And I promise if you're ever investigated in any way, those cheats will bite you on the butt. The system, if you know how to use it properly, will bless you and benefit you, but you just have to learn. Don't leave it to somebody else to tell you what to do. Get some education. That's the number one thing we do at Laughlin. Anyway, Scott, that's my presentation. If they want to do it, they can go to corpveilprotection.com. They can jump online and order the Corporate Veil Protection Service. They can call and get questions answered. Now, remember, we're open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, Pacific time. So if you call and it's the middle of the night Pacific time, you're going to get voicemail. But you can definitely organize yourself so you can talk to somebody. We want to do that for you. And those first few people, if they get something with me, which the office will report back to me who those people were, I will really look forward to having that one-on-one chat with people. Scott, is there anything else you want me to, any question you want me to answer, anything else I can do to be useful to you guys right now?
Well, I've got the website corporateveilprotection.com pulled up, so you can all can see it's on the call. Yeah, corpveilprotection.com, so you guys can see it. And you've been going for about an hour and a half. You got any questions from anybody they'd like to ask Aaron? Keep it relevant. Let's see here.
Just be clear, I did an hour and 5 minutes.
Yeah, you're doing good. Okay, we got a question here. Patrick asked the question, presentation is mostly about fixing what we currently have. What program does Aaron recommend if we want to set up new LLCs, for example, for a JV?
Well, like I said, if you're just starting something brand spanking new, we have a number of programs. There's one that we just call our turnkey, which is a new entity, and we start right out with doing the record keeping, and it's a discounted price. It's what is it? Can you tell that I never fill out sales orders? I just own the company. But anyway, it's right under $1,000 plus filing fees, and so it's a big discount. Now that doesn't get you seminar tickets or anything, and I mean we really sell our seminar tickets. We really sell our membership program, and the reason we do it is because we want the people at the event to be highly qualified and to have skin in the game. So, but if you want to do something, Patrick, that's like ongoing, we have great programs for you that will be incredibly competitive both in price and probably will beat the pants off of anything anybody else will offer to you from a consulting and I hope this doesn't sound condescending, but from a hand-holding standpoint, as you're trying to do things for different circumstances, we're going to be your kind of your backstop with answering those questions forever. As long as you want to call us, we're there for you. And like I said, we've been doing this almost 44 years. It's not a flash in the pan.
No, and I would totally echo that. I mean, I've known you for a couple of years now. You've been handling our stuff for a couple of years too. And you guys, Debbie or Randy or Scott over there is always, and even Megan too, always responsive. Debbie helped me get my stuff set up properly from the previous LLCs, was really responsive, following up emails, phone calls. We started a new couple LLCs and an S Corp and got that set up initially to rock and roll along. So depending on what you're looking for, Patrick, they've got a plan for you, whether it's a new LLC you're looking going forward or something to solve your problems from behind if you haven't started an LLC. Regardless, everybody, you should not be doing business as a sole proprietor anyway. Should not be doing it as a DBA. You're going to totally get in a lot of trouble because obviously on the note side, real estate investing side, it's not if you're going to get sued at some point, it's when you're going to get sued. And that's a true thing out there. All right. Another question here. Do you have let's see, do you have an opinion on using a serial LLC?
So my opinion on serial LLCs is here's what I'll tell you about serial LLCs. This is what we've discovered. The concept of the serial LLC, if you own a bunch of LLCs that are just holding, a piece of property or two or three pieces of property, and you're trying to deal with this sort of related entity sort of thing, serial LLCs, the idea of them is good. The challenge is that there are very few professionals out there, either lawyers or CPAs, who really understand them. They're not super duper widely used. Now, they may be in your specific community, meaning, your friends, but I'm going to tell you that we've seen more people get messed up because the professionals are using, especially tax-wise, get kind of bogged down in the exoticness and the somewhat newness of series LLCs. So conceptually, they're a perfectly good idea. From a simplicity standpoint, I don't know that they give you a lot of benefit that using a bunch of one-member LLCs with a holding company, a more traditional approach, you're going to end up with the same, or essentially the same, probably the identical same tax benefit, and you're going to get the exact same lawsuit protection.
Cool.
So it's only a matter of how you want to organize. If you want to be exotic and be cool, and there's nothing wrong with that, and if you've got a good service provider, then do a series LLC. But just don't do that with somebody who isn't really an expert on that specific strategy.
I totally agree with that. I got a question here. Are soft copies acceptable for doc compliance, or do you have to have a physical book with the actual hard copies?
Well, if you mean soft copies, like do you have something digital on your computer, the answer is that's fine. But if you're ever going through an examination, they want a hard copy. So you will at some point print it out and put it in the book. Any company of any size always has corporate record books. But if you're doing it digitally, that's fine. Make sure you're following the right procedure and you're keeping everything on your computer and you're backing it up so that it's never lost. I've seen clients go through fires and other kinds of natural disasters where they've lost their records, and that's the rarity. But I'm just saying, if you're going to do it that way, be smart. One of the benefits of our program is that we're keeping everything digitally for you, and we're sending you the digital copy so you could keep it on your computer, or you could print it and put it in the book. But if you were to lose the book or something happened or you spilled coffee all over or whatever, you could easily get the records again from us.
Exactly. We got a question. How do you handle being a foreign corporation in multiple states?
Well, we do business in all 50 states, and we have I can't even begin to tell you how many clients we have who are doing business, like they're a Colorado company doing business as a foreign corporation in Utah, or they're a Nevada company doing business in California. The main thing is to make sure you know what the rules are in the different states and you're documenting things properly, and that's something we do every single day, and we have tremendous expertise in, and I mean literally doing that for thousands of companies. So right. It's new to you, and it's every day for us.
Last question here is, I'm not quite understanding the question. What type of attorney would I need for my note business? Noreen, there's different types of attorneys. You need foreclosure attorneys as one value for when you're buying notes and foreclosing, but I'm not sure what you mean by what type of attorney you need for your note business.
Well, they said maybe if they're just saying for the note business, a foreclosure attorney is going to be great. Somebody who understands contracts, somebody who really understands the real estate laws of your state or whatever state you're buying and selling in is going to be useful to you. But there's also a tremendous amount of information, I would think, Scott, on from evaluating opportunities. You don't need to necessarily have great lawyers, but you're going to want to use lawyers as your kind of like your weapons, the way you deploy stuff to deal with different circumstances in different places. Is that basically true?
It looks like she says on here to represent my business if I were sued.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you're going to use a lawyer to represent your business if you're sued, it's going to be a litigation attorney.
Yep.
And if they're suing you over your note business, it's probably going to be a real estate litigation attorney.
Yep, totally.
Here's the good news. If you have these things in place, it's going to stop 90% of any potential lawsuits before they start.
Totally.
Because they only come after you if they think they can get something.
Mm-hmm. We got a recommendation here. Michelle and Drew Orgel praised your company highly. They've been using you guys for a while and love it. It's been really helpful in their business.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions before I wrap it up for the night?
You.
Let Aaron get back to spend time with his family. Question here. Do you recommend a real estate trust versus an LLC for the note business?
I'm not going to give any legal advice.
Yeah.
I will say there are definitely times to use real estate trusts, and we're very familiar with them. And a trust is something that a lawyer would do for you, or you can do yourself. A trust is really a contract, but a company like ours wouldn't organize one for you. LLCs, go back to the strategy I told you about. A holding company and then the operating company. Almost every really successful person that I know who's making real money, big money, is using a strategy like I described to you, and it may be more complex because their life is more complex, but they're using entities like that. A fellow I know is the Intel or the CFO for Intel here in the Portland area. They have about 17,000 employees, and he runs all the financial stuff for Intel here. And he was telling me they use over 2,000 corporations and LLCs just within his stewardship to manage the patents, the bank accounts, the contracts, and so on that they have with different organizations and in different countries. That's just within his stewardship. That's not all of the giant, megaplex of Intel. So if you want to use things that have good practical case law around them, the courts understand, they don't look weird if they get in front of somebody that's examining you, and the outcomes are well documented already in other case law, then use standard entities and use them properly and dot every I and cross every T, which is what we can help you with, or you can attempt to do it yourself. Whatever the case is, if you do it, you will be protected under the law. The more exotic you get, the more everybody looks at it and goes, oh, well, they were doing something, they were trying to pull. I shouldn't say they're trying to pull a fast one. That's not fair. The more exotic you get, though, the more everybody that's examining you raises their eyebrows. Let's just put it that way. I'm not in any way against using trusts, but I'm just saying the more commonplace the ingredients are, the more the courts or the auditors look at them and just say, oh yeah, well, they're doing it just right. We know exactly what the result is. And I'm just telling you, the goal is stop the lawsuit before it starts. That's exactly. Always it. And then if you fight it, are you protected? And if you lose the lawsuit, is most of your estate protected? And you've mitigated the risk to just the one thing that they came after you for.
Perfect.
That's the goal. And we can help you reach that goal.
Cool. I'm on the website right now, corpveilprotection.com, CORPVEIL protection.com. Noreen, the question you have is much more specific, so sign up for it and use the half-hour consultation with Aaron. Same thing, Alan, on your earned income question. That's much more of a CPA or a one-on-one question. So pick up the phone, give them a phone call, or sign up for corpveilprotection.com and get rock and roll with them. So, Aaron, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you were in Austin this weekend, and you're back home, and then you're flying out in Miami in a couple days. Thank you so much. I'm sure everybody's excited. Big round of applause for you, buddy.
Yay! I always love being with you, Scott, and I always love meeting the people that you're involved with. You got great students, great people, and everybody I've met has been, and a lot of them have become clients, which I'm super grateful for. And we want to continue to earn your business, earn your trust. So Thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks, Aaron. Everybody, thanks for taking time on your busy Monday. As I mentioned before, this call is recorded, so we can go back and review a few things. But take the time, go to corpveilprotection.com. What Aaron's offering, trust me, is well worth your time. As we all know, the successful investors, successful people out there are maximizing their hourly rate, and you're not going to take the time to fill all those forms out and keep that track up. So that's one of the biggest things that's so valuable what Laughlin and Associates offers. So do it, sign up for it. Trust me, it's one thing you will not regret having. So with that, everybody, we're going to wrap it for the night. If you guys are still interested in coming out to a workshop, we do have a few slots still left available in the Miami workshop. Feel free to go to weclosenotes.com and register for that, or drop me an email, and we'll get you there. Otherwise, we will see you guys next Monday night. Have a great evening. Enjoy your week. Talk to you later, everybody.